In this video, we analyze the pop-up for entering text, numbers, dates, and so on. It's called Input. We have a link to Input button. Let's open the settings of this button, turn on code and call link to input function. Here it is. Let's pre-fill it. It's pretty simple here. We have to type in a title. Next is HTML. We can enter some HTML in quotes here. Let's call it a test. This input supports HTML formatting and will be shown above input box in formatted view. I will skip code for now. We don't need type and var. Value is needed because it is the value that will be filled in the input box. We can type sample here, for example. Next, we need refresh true, since we are going to execute actions in the same table. And then we specify save. Close false we don't use and we don't discuss in this video. So, with these parameters everything is easy. The key parameter is code. In this parameter code must be passed as a string. So it's like this. This is the code that will be executed after we click on save. There will be two buttons in the pop-up window. One of them will have the name like we passed in the parameter button. The other one is cancel. If we click on cancel, nothing happens. It just closes the pop-up window. If we click on save, it will execute this code and the key idea. But what everyone cries out for is that the code should be passed here as a string. That is, in quotes, you have to write set and immediately here is table. There is no autocomplete. Everyone begins to suffer very much at this point. But there are a couple of tricks. First, don't do it like this. If you type code and then do code like this and there's some action code here, it won't work. It definitely won't work that way, because a string has to come here. Since version 2, we can also use this code to refer to the code block. We put quotation marks like this. Then we write code. Then we write a colon. And then we say it will be totem code. Then we break it a couple of times and put closing quotes. Here we haven't corrected it yet, so it won't be highlighted in red. You get a block, which is highlighted in green, so marshy color. It will be called by this code and everything written here will be passed as text. This line spacing code can be used not only in link to input. There are a lot of places where there is such a code parameter. This can be used there. Here we write what we want to set. You see, here the prefill works. Now table name. In the H input from input field, we will set what was entered in the input. This value is accessible by the quick variable input. Where is not needed here. And about log I will show the following trick. For example, we call text that is another line in this code here. It's highlighted in swamp because these variables don't intersect in any way with the variables that are outside of this green part. And we enter, for example, some text from input in the text line. Let's try it. Let's save it and see what we got. We click on link to input. We get a pop-up. Here's our HTML test. Here is the sample in the fill. Here are the save and cancel buttons. We can click save and set here, and in the log we see some text from input. This is the first version of how we can work with this. Second way, I made a hidden button, called it code donor, in order to show another way. Copy this code from here. Go here, paste this code here. Here everything is also very ordinary. It cannot be executed from here because there is no variable input. It exists only in the pop-up window code. Then here in link to input we copy the name of this field and pass it into the code as a string. That way it works not only in the code parameter of this function, but also in the code of other functions. The code donor field must be in the same table. If it's in a different table, this method won't work. Checking. It works the same way. Sample 2. Here it is. The code is executed exactly from here. The third way that you can use code in these parameters is to take the code from somewhere else. For example, I create another field here and call it code donor 2. It's gonna be a text type field. And there's a text type here. We can say it's totem code. We'll save it. And in this code we'll take and paste our code. This is the code that we go and insert. Not inside the code, but we just put it in the text field. This is how text is stored here. We make this field visible only to the creator. It's a technical field. And then it works as follows. We say in the parameter code that we take it. The @ sign is a reference to the fields in the table. And we're saying here that we're taking the value from the link to input table from the code donor 2 field. And when we refer to the code like this using an @ sign or single quotes, if we press edit, we get a window to edit this code from text field or a code parameter. Here we can edit. Press save and the code will be saved in the source. You see, there the value has changed. Thus, you can have a whole table with codes that are reused from elsewhere and have quick access to them. Okay, let's try it this way. Let's press link to IPUT. Sample 3. A change occurred, and we see in the log. We changed the text in the log parameter to from input 3 inches in the donor 2 code, and we see that the code was executed exactly this. And in addition to the topic of distance codes, I'll show you how you can do the following. We can add codes to the rows part. We add a field that will contain the name to choose the code. This can be a separate table with the codes. Next, we add the code text for the actual code and select the type of text. Totem code. Save. There may be a number of code rows. Let's take this code. Let's start adding a row. Let's put the name as input. Insert the copied code here. Mark it as input 4. Now we need to take this code from here by name input. Now modify the button code. Here we have a reference through @ sign, table. And so we access the H-code donor 2 field. We're erasing this. And we need to address the code text, which is in the rows part. So this is where the square brackets indication comes out. We need to specify the id of the row. So if we put square brackets right after the code text, we need to specify the id of the row. But we are designing a variant of the reference through the name. So we put a dot here and specify as a comparison field name. After the second dot, we specify the comparison field. And here we write that we should choose by input. Okay. Save. Let's try it. SAMPLE5. Save. The code from here went here. Here in this rows part. Found here by name input and took this code to execute. So you may have a function table created somewhere in the solutions customization tables. If you have frequently reused functions, you can create them there. You can access them like this. Click on Edit, change them, and save your changes. The only thing to remember is that they can be used in several places. We'll return to this more than once because this kind of reference to external code is used in many places, especially in the advanced part. So practice all your code calls on the link to input example, and once you have mastered at least 2 of them, move on to the next video. See you later.